that we had a lot of work doing to get the American people to recognize this. But in my travels across the country this past year, I saw a hunger for our work that I never anticipated. I've noticed this particularly in the southern and midwestern states, where people are fed up with a political culture that presupposes religion must play a part in shaping policy. We saw this at our secular caucus at the Texas Democratic Convention, where hundreds of attendees filled the venue to standing room only capacity. It was the first time we ever hosted a secular caucus at a major political party at the state level. Texas, of all places, Texas. Now, you'll remember Sarah, who was with me last year. For whatever reason, I approved her to go on vacation. She's in Colombia, having the time of her life. She sent me a picture this morning of her with a backpack, little hat on. She's going hiking. And I'm jealous, because she's not with me here. But, I said to Sarah when I went to San Antonio for the Texas Democratic Party, I said, Sarah, if you made me fly all the way here for 4 people, I'm going to be really upset. We had 400 people. It was among the largest caucuses that was attended at the Texas Democratic Party. It was unbelievable. Now, granted, 10% of the people walked in because they wanted to know what the heck a secular caucus was. 90% walked in because they were angry in terms of what was happening in Austin and throughout the state of Texas. They were angry. They were fed up. They wanted new messaging. They wanted a new way to move forward. And that's what they got. In June, and in conjunction with Roy, we had 140 delegates from the National Democratic Convention. Delegates reached out to us to proclaim that they are openly secular. This is a big deal. In Utah, this December, in Utah, the Utah Democratic Party approved the creation of the state's first secular caucus. Or my favorite, in Kentucky. Good old Kentucky, the Ark Encounter. Y'all know about the Ark Encounter? It is a sight to be seen, I'll tell you that much. But when secular activists came across the country to call out a clear violation of the separation of church and state, I was amazed. I wasn't just amazed by the leadership of secular leaders across the country, I was also really amazed by the counter-protesters. And I realized at that moment, perhaps more profoundly than ever, that we're the nice people. We are the nice people. We're not calling our gay, lesbian, or trans brothers and sisters abominations. We're not shaming women for exercising their legal access to reproductive health. And we're not standing in the way of individuals with terminal illnesses to die with dignity because we have a God complex. We're fighting every day to create a more inclusive society, a society made up of laws that are based on expanding individual freedoms and individual liberties. We are fighting every day to ensure that people can practice their faith. But more importantly, we're ensuring that they cannot impose their faith on others. This is what real religious freedom looks like. In a democracy, real religious freedom means that if you're opposed to gay marriage, don't get gay married. If you're opposed to abortion, don't have one. If you're opposed to end-of-life choice, don't choose. But do not tell someone else that they cannot. It's that simple, people. Their version of religious freedom says that if you're against gay marriage, it's okay to discriminate against gay people. If you're opposed to abortion, no one should have access to reproductive health. If you're not their brand of Christian, you're not allowed. And if you're a Muslim, you're banned. Well, folks, I don't think they have a damn clue what real religious freedom looks like. And in case you might worry that this is just an optimist who lives inside a secular bubble, a poll released last week by the Public Religion Research Institute found that 64% of Americans oppose allowing religious refusal laws. 71% of Americans, including a majority of both Republicans and Democrats, Oppose churches endorsing politicians while maintaining their tax status. 70% support non-discrimination laws to protect LGBT people. And 53%, despite a widespread campaign of misinformation, oppose the hateful bathroom bills that target and stigmatize the transgender community. But this is why this year is so important. And I feel kind of foolish because last year I came here and I said 2016 is so important. And 2016 was important. And I said in November when we elect the next president, whomever she may be, I was being optimistic. But let me say a few names. Pence, Gorsuch, DeVos, Price, Pruitt, Carson, Sessions, McConnell, Ryan, Trump. And now a few topics. The Johnson Amendment, the First Amendment Defense Act, which we all know has nothing to do with defending the First Amendment. RFRA, defunding Planned Parenthood, budget cuts against science at the EPA, the NIH, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the FDA, climate change, travel ban, aid in dying, and something you all know way too well here in Arizona, school vouchers. This is what we're up against this year. And it's hard to believe that in 2017, we must still fight so hard to defend the secular nature of our government. But we do. We had hoped to build on our victories and to expand the gains we made for civil rights and true religious freedom. Instead, we must ensure that those hard-won victories are not hollowed out by the Trump administration and his allies in the 115th Congress. We cannot count on others to fight our battles or hope that progress is simply inevitable. We have a duty to ourselves, to future generations, and to one another to stand up for what is right. What happens this year will set the tone for years to come. When the religious right and the Trump administration try to impose their unconstitutional religious privilege, we must be there to call them out and hold them accountable. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. The fight for a secular government and science-based policy may seem as uphill as ever, but the struggles we endure today will build the strength we need to win victories tomorrow. The activism we use to resist the religious right is the same activism we can use to fortify and strengthen our secular government. Our challenges are vast, but our potential is limitless. November 8th could be remembered as a victory for the religious right, or it could be remembered as the spark that started a secular and science-based revolution across the United States. Well, because of that, and because of looking at all of you here today, I'm more confident than ever that it's the latter. Thank you again for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, so that was Larry Decker, Executive Director for Secular Coalition for America, talking about, the future. Oh, they're doing a public service announcement. So, so that was Larry Decker, and he was talking about current events and why it's important that secular legislation gets precedent compared to religious legislation. So I'm sure you guys can hear the planes and the birds. The birds have been mocking everybody all morning long. And now we have jet planes flying over us.
It's always been like this. Even when we'd run for office, we're getting ready to do like a photo shoot or video, and there's the plane.
Yeah, and it comes flying over all the time. Hey, JP.
Hey, JP. Yeah,
Yeah.
grab a seat.
We're on the air. We're live. Yeah, this is one of those things where it's nice to see people, and so it's been cool. Nice to see people that we know. You know, I'm sure they're probably going to be talking for a little bit while longer, and then they're going to send people over to start going to speeches and do stuff like that. Because there is an agenda and a time frame for everything. So
No, we're just going to blah, blah, blah. JP knows all about our blah, blah, blah.
we were actually we're sending the message. Yeah. It's really hard because of the distance from the microphone.
You can listen, you can talk. Oh, you can listen.
Welcome, Larry. We're so glad you're here. Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tori. I'm down here every single day. I'm the one who keeps you informed of what's happening with the bills. And let me just say how wonderful it is to have all of you here with me today. Thank you so much. It's very lonely sometimes. I can remember a day just 2 weeks ago. I was in tears because I was having such a hard day trying to get lawmakers to listen to me, to understand the secular perspective on the bills. But the truth is that we just continue to move forward. And when I'm down here, I know that I have all of you, along with the thousands of our supporters behind me. So thank you again. Today, I have a very special ask for you. This is your call to action, and I apologize I don't have as much time as I would like, but everybody have these cards in your packet. Now, how many of you have gone through and already filled them out because you read the call to action? Anybody? Okay, some of you have, so I'm going to go over it really fast. We have a tremendous opportunity today to bring a human side, the human story, to what is a late-term abortion. Last week in committee, Chairman Farnsworth akined women who get late-term abortions to child abusers. He didn't realize that sitting in the audience was a woman named Maureen who had come to share her story. Her story is one of love and compassion, and she found out that her daughter Zoe had water on her brain, was missing vertebrae, had several tumors, was grossly deformed, wouldn't live past a year, if that, and it would all be in the hospital. It would be completely painful. Maureen and her family made a decision that no family should ever have to make. But they made this decision out of love and compassion for baby Zoe. And Maureen stood up very bravely in this committee, and she told her story. And I tell you what, they heard her. But they still voted that bill through. And what this bill does is it would require any doctor's office that performs a late-term abortion to have a neonatologist present to save the life of any baby that they determine to be delivered alive. And we had neonatologists come to this committee hearing to give scientific, medical, sound advice from people who work on this every single day. And we have attorneys in the Judiciary Committee of all places telling these medical doctors that they don't know what they're talking about when it comes to life. The doctor said, it's futile. We don't really have treatments for 21 weeks. A committee member says, I just Googled it and found one. I Googled it. So, this is a political reality. And we're doing our best to fight this bill. And we're at this point now where the bill has been passed through the Senate. It's gone to the House. It's gone through committee. It's scheduled for caucus today, so they're inside talking about this bill right now. This is urgent. They are talking about this bill. They will be voting on it this week, possibly a final vote next week, but for sure we'll probably see this on the floor this week. And our goal is to try to stop this bill from even getting a discussion on the floor. Because if it goes to the floor, you have a majority caucus of Republicans who will vote for this bill because They will place politics over family.